things can change rapidly. Things can accelerate rapidly. You can change rapidly. You can accelerate rapidly. How is change established when it comes to circumstances? Anybody? Thank you. Vibration. So change does not necessarily happen by me moving this glass from here to over there. That's a byproduct of me being already in the vibrational composition of energy, or the frequency overall signature that allows me to move my hand and do this, take this action. This is just a very simple example. But any change in your lives, whether it is from poverty to wealth, whether it is from no relationship to relationship, whether it is from not knowing clearly who you are to knowing clearly who you are, anything that you desire in your life, any change that you desire, any change that you're passionate about, these things are established not by doing, as many of you have probably recognized. The more you try to do, the more you try to act, the more you try to change your reality, the more it starts fighting back, even if it's something you really desire. Unless you have no belief systems or resistance towards the thing, then even being in the deed of action can seem like it's effortless. But for many people, when we try to change our circumstances and try to fix it to make it look the way we want it to look, if we're still within the same vibrational signature, overall frequency, then it doesn't matter what we do, because we're only fighting against our own vibration. So vibration is the precursor for any change. It's the most important step to take, is to understand your vibration. What does vibration mean? Well, in most basic terms, it's how do you feel right now? How do you feel right now? And there's subtlety to that. It's not just, well, ultimately it is just you feel good or you feel bad, like the simplest level. But there's many ways to feel good. There's many ways to feel bad. There's many subtleties to each feeling. Not that you need to dissect these, but they will give you more insight into exactly why you're attracting the things that you're attracting, or exactly why you're struggling with what you're struggling. Usually when you can't quite find what it is that keeps generating a similar universe, even though you've shifted through billions of parallel realities, from that moment to the next moment of frustration, to the next moment of frustration, it is because you're taking something with you into the new universe that doesn't have to be there per se. It's an assumed sense of self, or it's an assumed assumption of what is possible, or it is an assumed belief in what you're worthy or capable of, or what is normal, or what is magical, or what is outside of the realm of the possible. So as soon as you bring an idea, a vibration with you into the new universe, then that new universe, even though it's 100% unrelated, structurally speaking, to the previous universe that you were in, even though it is completely independent from the other frames that you move through, you will bring with you the same experiences. You will bring with you the same circumstances. Now, this is what we do when we look at a collective level and we talk about warfare, we talk about drugs, we talk about financial problems, we talk about the economy collapsing, we talk about politics sucking, all that stuff. The more we continue to talk about that, the more we bring that with us into the next universe. The next universe is essentially completely empty. Now, it is filled with so many probabilities, and it's already filled with so many trajectories, because there's 7 billion of us co-agreeing to be to some extent within each other's reality. Some very minimally so. But all to some extent we're part of the agreement called humanity. And so we are within a parallel collective reality of our own, if we're human. Which means that there is 7 billion probable trajectories that are all outputting their energy into the next universe. And so there is a high probability as to what alternate universe will come next and come next and come next down our timeline. That's why certain predictions can be made from an intuitive, energetic point of view. It's because you can sense into the trajectory of all the vibrations that make up our collective. So based on these predictions, or based on these probabilities, how can we even further, which are quite good, they're hectic and they're chaotic and they're messed up, but they are quite good as they are, but how can we make them even better? How can we smoothen our journey as a collective? How can we make it easier on planet Earth? How can we make the transition easier on nature? How can we make the transition easier on our societies, on our relationships, as well as our inter-country relationships, international relationships? How can we make it easier in a way? Not that it has to, because it's kind of fun to see the economy collapse in certain ways. But how can we make it easier? How can we make it easier even on that system to sort of smooth itself, ease its way into a new way of being, into a new way of operating? Well, any ideas? Thank you. Emit, did you say emit? Yeah, emit. Be responsible for what we emit. Thank you. That's, in a nutshell, what I want to talk about. Because, as you know, changes are the result of vibration, and so we need to take responsibility. And responsibility has gotten a negative connotation, but it's actually a very liberating thing. When you take responsibility for the things you're actually responsible for, then all your assumed responsibilities drop away. So if you actually take responsibility, you actually start to feel free from your responsibilities. So how do you know whether you're taking responsibility? It's that you're feeling free from responsibilities. Does that make sense? Because when you take vibrational control instead of situational control, when you master your vibration, when you notice how you feel and you bring it back into alignment to the best of your ability, and you have a joyful attitude about doing so, you have an optimistic view on doing so, then it will be very easy for you to stay within a certain parameter of out of alignmentness. So you will stay very close to the center beam of light that penetrates your being, top down, which is the resonance track, the resonance beam of your higher self that you're always being close to or further away from. How do you know this? Based on how you feel. So how do you feel? How do you feel right now? Good. So then this experience is in alignment. The way that you're thinking right now, the excitement you might be having for your future based on even the past 10 minutes of me speaking, what that triggers for you might be in alignment if you're feeling good. If it feels really, really bad, then you might consider leaving the room, finding something that excites you more. Or maybe it does really excite you, but maybe you have a negative definition placed on top of it based on previous experience that you drag with you into this universe. Now you see, ultimately, this universe, the next universe, and I'm talking not about years from now, I'm talking about the next nanosecond universe, this universe, this universe, this universe, this is next, this is next, this is next. Every next moment is completely clean, it's completely clear, it's a completely blank slate, it's a completely new canvas. If you take out of the equation, which we cannot really do, all the trajectories of all the beings that are part of this collective reality. But if you just take away the relationship aspect, the vibrational relationship aspect of the consciousnesses, the beings that seemingly inhabit the template that we call the world, and just see the universe as it is, if we would take ourselves out of the equation, then the very next moment, instead of having just 2 or 3 or 4 options, the very next nanosecond suddenly would contain all options, except for the ones that Mother Earth as a being itself would not agree to experience. But every other potential reality would be right there, right available. We could shift into that right the very next nanosecond if we take out of the equation the vibrational mess that we've generated. Does that make sense? In other words, the world is not to blame. The earth is not to blame. The time that we're in is not to blame. The technology that we've generated is not to blame. Even the people are not to blame. Spiritual teachers are to blame. For you see, it is their responsibility to educate. I'm not actually kidding that much. But of course, nobody is to blame.